Hey everybody, welcome back to Guns and Gadgets. Again, living out of the mobile command center. Heading to a meeting, and I thought I would touch on this subject since it's got the country in a fury. And why is the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals decision about concealed carry, why is that unconstitutional? I'm going to explain that in a way that I hope everybody can understand it, whether you're a gun friendly person or not, because the way that this is being treated could happen to any of our rights, regardless of which one it is. So as you know, Thursday, which was the 9th of June 2016, I don't know when you're watching this video, but the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled in a 7-4 decision that Americans do not have a right to carry concealed handguns for protection. If you're not familiar with the judicial branch, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals is based in San Francisco, California. And since California already bans people from openly carrying guns, this decision amounted to basically prohibiting people from carrying guns at all, whether it's open or concealed. Basically strip them of their Second Amendment right, and there's no way around it. It's clear that not just in California, but everywhere in this country, it's gotten to the point where a judge's political affiliation, because they're appointed, often determines whether he or she thinks that people have a right to defend themselves. And they typically, not 100% of the time, but a vast majority of them will vote down the party lines. And that's why this upcoming election is huge for the country. Regardless of who you want for president, this will shape the Bill of Rights going forward. It'll shape our country and could change America drastically to the point where something could happen. Your rights would be stripped, etc. But that's a different video. But right now, Democratic judges are right now scrambling to overturn recent Supreme Court decisions that struck down bans on guns. And a lot of the states have already begun enacting constitutional carry laws. So the places that don't have them, that are, gun prisons, California, Maryland, places like that, they're trying to go quick and move swiftly to basically stymie anything that has to do with the Second Amendment. Now, if you're not familiar, the Second Amendment of the United States Bill of Rights says, and the quote is, "The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed." That is in black and white in the United States Constitution, and it's supposed to be interpreted that way. Now, when you read it in today's time, you got to remember that this was written a very long time ago when the English language was very different. And the word bear, to keep and bear arms, meant carry back in the colonial days. They carried their guns, they carried them concealed, they carried them in the open, they carried their firearms. And the United States Supreme Court even ruled that much in the landmark case, which is, if you're not familiar, you should be. It's the District of Columbia versus Dick Heller. It's a 2008 case. I will have a link to that case in this description. So when you're done watching this video, if you want to read that case, you should. It's very important stuff. It's right down in the description. You can read the whole thing. Just click the link. The justices of the Ninth Circuit, they cannot overrule the United States Supreme Court. It's a pecking order, and they're not the top dog. They're not the top of the food chain. In fact, it's their job to follow Supreme Court precedents. They're supposed to basically be the enforcers to make sure that what the Supreme Court says is carried out. When questions haven't been resolved by the High Court, it's their job to interpret the language of the Constitution, not to dismiss the language so plain that any dictionary could have made them aware of that what they were doing was wrong. So it's already the law of the land, and it's pretty plain that U.S. citizens clearly have the right to carry firearms in public. This ruling found that they don't have a constitutional right to carry concealed in public. And when they wrote this decision, the 7 justices totally disregarded the fact that the rights of the California citizens, they already can't carry open in California. It's already illegal, and it's Penal Code 26350. So they can't carry loaded or unloaded firearms, and carrying into that is illegal. So I don't know how you transport a gun if you're a citizen in that fucking crazy state. And what a lot of people aren't talking about, whether it's here on YouTube or wherever, the heart of this issue is the case that was originally Puerta versus San Diego. And I'll have a link to that case as well in the description so you can read that too. This challenged the discretionary way that some officials are granting citizens concealed carry permits. According to California law, a person applying for their Second Amendment right to carry concealed have to do a few things. The first of which is they have to be a resident of their respective city or county, obviously. 2, they got to be in good moral character. And 3, they have to have, quote, good cause for such a license. And that is where the problem has stemmed. California law also allows cities and municipalities to pass even more strict gun control laws. So while many rural counties accept self-defense as a good cause, some of the city chiefs and urban sheriffs haven't done that. The core of this case lies with this. San Diego County Sheriff William Gore denied almost everybody going for his license, his or her license. And the few that did get their permits had to beg and plead and show imminent danger, or that their lives were in danger, whether it was through restraining orders or other legal documentation, before the sheriff was basically forced to give it to them. In many parts of California, it's essentially impossible to get a permit. And I got a couple stats that were eye-opening for myself. In San Francisco County, 4. That's right. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 people. That's 0.0005% of the adult population in San Francisco County. You would think a lot of people live there, and you'd be correct for thinking that. But just 4 people of that entire population got a permit in 2015. 4. And that, think about this. In the Obama administration, the sale of firearms and the amount of people getting their permits across the country has exploded. I mean, astronomical numbers, and only 4 people in San Francisco County got their permit. 4. And that's an improvement over 2012, when just 2 people were granted their permit. And one of them was the sheriff's personal attorney. So you can pull whatever you want from that one. Los Angeles has a slightly higher rate. They're a little more liberal with giving out the permits, our right. And that was 0.007%, but all permits, every single one of them, were issued to judges, reserve deputies, and very wealthy donors of the Los Angeles Sheriff Campaign Fund. Clearly, it's not the same thing as letting civilians defend themselves. To put this in perspective, imagine if a local sheriff or another official were permitted to treat any other constitutionally protected right this way. Say they could just storm your house and search for whatever the hell they wanted without the proper documentation, without a search warrant. Would you be okay with that? What if you said, hey, I don't like the way you're doing the job, Sheriff, and he threw you into jail for 20 years because he just took away your right to freedom of speech and your right to a speedy trial and to confront your accuser? Would you stand for that? Or what if somebody said, if you were out protesting or calling for action, and what if they threw you into jail? What if you're doing a YouTube video about this case and they threw you in jail because they didn't want to honor the United States Constitution? They want to create their own country and their own rules. Well, that's happening with the Second Amendment. So even if you're not a gun fan, even if you're not a fan of people's rights to be able to carry a gun, think of it that way, because we're all in this together. That's the problem. They're dividing and conquering right now, and we have to remain one people, because without it, they're going to get their frickin' indoctrination through, and they're going to rule us, like the kings of the old days. And that's why we had the first revolution. And it's leading that way now if you follow the way the whole country's been treated for the last 20 years. Now, some of you watching this are going to say that that was a very extreme example, but I challenge you, prove me wrong. The treatment of the United States Bill of Rights obviously doesn't even pass this laugh test, right? Because like if you thought about it the way I just said it, you'd be like, oh, this can't happen. But that's exactly what California just did. They took away citizens' Second Amendment rights like that, even going against the decision of the Supreme Court. The next step in this case is for it to be appealed. Obviously, it's expected that this will be appealed to the United States Supreme Court. And if the High Court does take this case, it could decide the future of guns in America. And like I said before, the next president has to choose at least one vacated justice position right now. And it's probably going to be maybe 2 or 3 more. So this is a very critical time in our history. What can you do about it as a citizen? Believe it or not, you can do an awful lot about it. See, our elected officials' job is to represent their people, and they're not allowed to just throw in their opinions or what the party wants. They're our employees, and you need to start thinking about it that way. They work for you, and a lot of people now can't be bothered to pick up a phone or to even type an email to their senators or their representatives because they think, hey, I'm being a bother, or they got more important shit to do. And you are 100% wrong. And that is what they're doing. They're taking advantage of your ignorance. If you don't know that you are their boss and you control the way the country operates, we do, not them. There are far, far more of us in numbers than those clowns who have tenure or are just sitting there collecting pensions while they rob the rest of the country blind. Make the phone call, guys. Make the fucking phone call. Write the fucking email. Text them. You can reach these clowns in so many different ways. And there's still some good ones out there that follow the laws. Still some good ones out there that will have our back. But do something about it. Don't just stand alone and think that we're going to do it for you. Take an interest in the future of your country. A lot of people died to make it this way, and a lot of people are willing to die to keep it this way. This is Jared from Guns and Gadgets. Until the next one, take care and be safe. Call your representative. California, the country is watching.